Ahoy lads, Sam here, with the first episode in my Hearts of Iron 4 Simple Guide. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the game as if you know absolutely nothing, so that's okay if you've come in with no knowledge whatsoever. I will be assuming that you have gotten so far as to at least load into the game. The first thing I want to talk about are a couple of options down here at the bottom of the game, and I'm going to recommend a couple of changes. Normally, the day-night cycle is turned on, which makes it go from day to night, and I find that rather obnoxious to look at all the time, as do most people, so I recommend you turn that off. I'm also going to recommend that you toggle this button here, which changes unit color between countries or allegiance. So the default setting, countries that are neutral will be a gray color, countries that are your enemy will be red, your units will be blue or green, excuse me, and friendly units will be blue. I recommend changing that to a country setting. You should get to be familiar with who are your friends and who are your enemies, but this will just help you understand whose units are actually whose much easier rather than looking at the little flags. I also like to turn off the fog of war because I think that that is a cleaner looking map. In this episode, I also want to go over focus trees, research and technology, and what all these wonderful alerts at the top of the screen are. And there's a lot of them, but don't worry, we're going to go over them. This one is that we have research slots available, so you would select these and select a technology to research. We're going to go over that soon. This is that we have free civilian factories. You use civilian factories to build anything on this screen. We will go over that more in another video. Here we have free military factories, which we use for production. It would also alert you if dockyards are available. We will go over that in another later video. Here we have no national focus set, and this is the national focus tree. Each country is going to have their own tree. Any majors and a lot of minors from DLCs are going to have their own focus trees that they can go through. Some very smaller nations will not have their own focus tree and will just have a generic focus tree. Now when you're in this focus tree, you will see these focuses that you can select are highlighted. If you ever see this, this means that focuses are mutually exclusive, meaning that you can only choose one and you cannot complete both focuses. Some focuses are dependent on a selection of an event that pops up in the middle of your screen. So for our political focuses here, there's this nice filtering system. We can click political here, and our first decision is either Rhineland or oppose Hitler. And if we choose one of these and we complete the focus, we will not be able to select the other one. You can stop the focus that you're on at any point, and you won't lose progress for up to 10 days. Most focuses are 70 days long, some are shorter though. You can also search for keywords in a focus. So let's say I wanted to look for a focus that gives me, even though there's this research button, let's just say I wanted to search for research. And there we go. All focuses that are going to mention research at some point in it will be right there. Or if I wanted to search for military factory, we can see over here these are giving us military factories. As you navigate the Hearts of Iron 4 UI, you will notice shortcuts for just about everything. And you can press those shortcuts. It's really good to get used to some of them, and I will go over many of them in the video. Just some quick examples. F1 is your default map mode. That's the map mode we're on. F2 is the naval map mode, F3 is the air map mode. And then from there you're going to have many, many different map modes, but those are kind of the main fighting modes. Another very important screen is your country screen here with the shortcut is Q. And here is where we can see the leader of our country, we can see the focus we're currently doing, we can see our national spirits, which can be both good and bad. We can see in here that we have 3 national spirits, and we can see our laws and government, our research and production companies and staff, and then our military staff. So in our laws and government, the first thing up is conscription. And when you hover over the options in here, you will see what benefits they provide and what detriments they have, and why you may or may not be able to select a certain law. So if we wanted to move up to extensive conscription, we would get 5% recruitable population, but the training time of new units would go up by 10%. And in order to do that, it says one of the following must be true. Our current ruling party must be fascist or communist. If we are not fascist or communist, we must be at war, and the enemy's strength of their military must be at least 50% compared to our army, and we must have more than 20% war support. You're also going to need 150 political power in order to make that choice. Where you find things like war support and political power are up at the top of the screen. So we just started the game, so we don't have much political power. Our stability is pretty high at 84%. Our war support is kind of low. And then we have our current available manpower. There's a lot of details in there. I won't go over all of them just right now. We have the amount of factories that we have, how much fuel we have, our logistics fulfillment, or in other words, how well our troops are being supplied, and then how many convoys we have and what they're being used for. Over here we have command power, which you use for your military commanders, either to promote them and give them new traits or use special abilities. And then we have our army, naval, and air experience. Next up on the alerts, we have no divisions in basic training. That means that we don't have any new divisions being trained. So we'll go ahead and close that alert. Generally, in order to close something in Hearts of Iron, you either click some sort of an X or cancel, or you right-click, and that is right-click to dismiss. Here we have outdated equipment in production. Any outdated equipment is going to have this brown background to it, and that is just some of our naval ships that are being produced, so we'll go ahead and dismiss that. Next up on the alerts, we have unassigned divisions. So we have no divisions currently assigned to an army. We will be talking about how to create armies, form battle plans, and troop movement in the next video. Here we have decisions available, which will pull up the decisions tab, and we have decisions where the time will run out on them. We'll be talking about that in a later video. We have insufficient resources, which means that our production is being lessened by lack of resources. I'll talk more in depth about that in a later video as well. For now, I want to have our attention brought back to the research screen, since this is very critical for new players to understand, and it's very overwhelming when you first open it. I did see in the new upcoming update that they will be splitting up the naval tab into 2 tabs, so this information will become outdated fairly quickly, but it's not going to be not useful anymore or anything like that. The first tab we have open is infantry. So in any of these tabs, you're going to see dates, and if you try to research stuff ahead of time, you're going to see in red that there is a debuff to that, or the research is going to take a time penalty. It's going to take longer. So if we research stuff that isn't ahead of time, it won't take as long. Currently we have 4 research slots. You can stop researching something at any time. Your progress isn't lost on that research. You just don't complete the research and you can come back to it. The next screen here are support companies. I'm not going to go over what each of these do right now, but these are things that you add to your divisions. Then we have the armor tech tree, which you would use to research new tanks or to improve your current tanks. Here we have the artillery screen, where you research regular artillery, anti-air artillery, and anti-tank artillery. Over here we have different ships. We have armor for those different ships, different guns for those ships, damage control, lots of different things in this tree. You can find out anything that you want to know on technologies that you're researching and what sort of benefits they have by hovering over the technology, or you can even click on them for a more detailed description of exactly what these things do. When you see things like production cost, it means that it's going to cost that much production to produce. Like if we added this gun to a ship, it would add 150 production cost. Over here in the air tree, we're going to have different planes that we can research, and they have different roles. Anything that is a jet plane requires the research of jet engines first, which we research in the next tab in the engineering. You would have to research these technologies. There's prerequisites to get to certain technologies, so we would need experimental rockets, rocket engines, and then we could get jet engines, which are 1944 tech. You can find focuses as well as you can find advisors, or you can find designers that will lower the amount of time it takes to research something. And our last tab is the industry tab. Here you're going to find ways to up your production efficiency cap, which is the maximum amount of stuff that you can produce, but I don't want to get too detailed into that until we talk about production in a later video. We've got our construction technologies, our different industry technologies. These are mutually exclusive paths. And then your refinery and making fuel, oil, how much fuel you're going to get from oil or refineries, as well as rubber from refineries over here. That's going to wrap it up for this video. In the next video, we are going to be talking about how to make armies and make front lines, do movement, manual movement, lots of shortcuts, that sort of thing. So I'm going to keep these installments short. I hope this is useful for new players. See you in the next video. Have a good one, lads.